They called it an accident, but accidents don't leave a trail of bodies, and this man didn't even know he was holding the knife. The moon hung low over the quiet town of Ashford, its pale light spilling across rows of sleeping houses. Streetlights hummed softly, casting orange halos on the pavement. A dog barked once in the distance, then silence reclaimed the night. Inside one of those houses, a man named David Cole stirred in his bed. A bead of sweat slid down his temple. It was 2:47 a.m. His breath was slow, his eyes shut, but something deep inside his mind had shifted. David sat up. Not with the startled gasp of a nightmare, but with the smooth, deliberate movements of someone already awake. Only he wasn't. David was still deep in sleep. Barefoot, he stepped onto the cold, hardwood floor. The air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain from earlier that evening. Downstairs, the low hum of the refrigerator mingled with the ticking of the wall clock, a steady, mechanical heartbeat in the darkness. His hand reached for the kitchen drawer, the faint metallic scrape of utensils shifted and his fingers curled around the handle of a carving knife. Across town, a single street lamp flickered outside the home of Mark and Sarah Lynn, David's closest friends since childhood. Mark had been his college roommate, Sarah the kind of person who remembered birthdays without a calendar. A week earlier, the three had sat around this very kitchen table, laughing over bad takeout and reminiscing about road trips. Sarah had teased David for being a walking zombie in the mornings. They had no idea how literal that would become. At 3:12 a.m., their front door creaked open. The next sound was a single muffled gasp. By sunrise, police had cordoned off the Lynn home. Yellow tape fluttered in the cold morning air. Neighbors huddled together, arms wrapped around themselves, their voices hushed as if the tragedy could still hear them. 2 lives had been taken, no signs of a break-in, no forced entry, no struggle. Only one set of fingerprints on the weapon, David's. When they brought him in, David sat in the harsh light of the interrogation room, his hands trembling, his face pale.
I don't remember anything.
You expect me to believe you killed your best friends in your sleep?
I swear. I went to bed and the next thing I knew I was here, in handcuffs.
There was something in his voice, enough to make even the seasoned detective hesitate. The investigation revealed strange details. First, no sign of struggle at the crime scene, no defensive wounds. It was as if Mark and Sarah hadn't even realized what was happening. Second, multiple neighbors reported seeing David walking down the street barefoot, his eyes unfocused, just minutes after the estimated time of death. Third, David's medical records showed a long history of parasomnia, severe sleepwalking and night terrors since childhood. As a teenager, he'd been found wandering into a neighbor's yard at 3 a.m., convinced he was still in his bedroom. The trial that followed split Ashford in two. The prosecution painted David as a cold-blooded killer using a convenient story to escape punishment. They called their first witness, a co-worker who claimed David had argued with Mark weeks earlier over a failed business deal. They suggested the motive was resentment, and the sleepwalking was a lie to cover it. The defense countered with a different picture, a man whose brain betrayed him in the dead of night. They brought in Dr. Elaine Harper, a sleep specialist who testified that parasomnia can push a person into complex, even violent actions, all without conscious control. She explained how the brain's motor functions can operate while the reasoning center remains asleep.
But killing 2 people?
It's rare, but it's not impossible.
Midway through the trial, a moment silenced the entire courtroom. Sarah's younger sister took the stand. Her voice shook as she recounted how Sarah had once told her that David had shown up at their house at 2 a.m. months earlier. Barefoot, confused and asking where he was. Sarah had laughed about it at the time, thinking it was harmless.
If I'd known, maybe I could have stopped this.
In the end, the jury saw both sides. David was found guilty, but of manslaughter, not murder. He was sent to a secure psychiatric facility, a place where nights were monitored as closely as days. It was there, 6 months later, that the truth clawed its way to the surface. The footage was chilling. A grainy black and white video from the facility's sleep lab showed David rising from his bed, his face blank, and shuffling into the hallway. His hands reached for an object on a nearby table, a pen, and he began stabbing the air, over and over, mimicking the exact motion described at the Lynn crime scene, all while still asleep. When the video went public, the debate reignited. Some saw it as proof David hadn't meant to kill anyone. Others argued it didn't matter, 2 people were still dead, and nothing could bring them back. The Lynn family stayed silent. Ashford itself seemed to hold its breath, the streets quieter than they'd been in years. David never returned to his old life. His childhood home was sold, his belongings donated. and the man who had once been the life of every barbecue became a name whispered only in cautionary tales.
Lock the doors at night, even from the inside.
Because the question lingered heavy and unspoken. If a man can kill in his sleep, is he truly innocent?